What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of At a Glance, a series in which I give you an appetizer, sampler, a glimpse into a particular faction in 40k. The goal behind it is to help you decide if you want to look further into the Force on your own, or maybe even start collecting that Force as well. So I haven't done one of these in a while. I've only done one since 8th edition came out. It's about time I do some more. This is going to be another redo, and then after this redo, I'm going to really focus on stuff that I have the codex for, but I feel really confident in talking about these guys. And I'll still be doing redos, but I'll also be bringing in some new stuff, such as Necron Dynasties and so forth, so should be fun to do. But for this, it's a redo of a force I talked about many moons ago, the Celestial Lions Space Marine Force, a Loyalist Astartes chapter from the 38th millennium, Imperial Fist Gene Seed Descendants, relatively young as a chapter goes, but still old, several millennia of service is still plenty old. A very noble, regal chapter of virtue, and a cool force. I really like them. I've painted up 2 models of them. They're really neat. So with that said, let's look into their color scheme firstly. Being Imperial Fist Descent, their color scheme isn't that far-fetched when you think about it. They have gold as their main armor color, which definitely works very nice. And with that being the case, they have blue for helmets and shoulder pad insets. It's a really nice shoulder pad inset color / helmet color because it makes the model pop. It's an interesting type of blue. It's not your standard blue. I think Hathor blue might be the blue to use, but anyway, it's a nice blue with yellow helmet lenses, black helmets for their captains, black chest emblem. The weapon can be done in black or in that same blue if you so desire. There's art for both. So there's that to consider. And then we have their chapter symbol and their squad marking. Their chapter symbol is a lion's head in profile. They used to be gold. There's artwork for that being gold, but you could also do it in white. And I say you could. Now this symbol is white and the squad markings are white. So you could also do it in gold, I guess is a better way of saying it, but white is kind of the de facto look now. Up to you, both look good. I prefer the gold. I think it's just more regal, but both look fine. So with that being said, that's the look. Very visually striking, very noble for a chapter that is regal, noble, and of virtue. And Imperial Fist Descendant. So with that, we have the typical demeanor and stuff associated with Imperial Fist Gene Seed. On top of that, we have the whole, what's the best way of putting it? A whole bit of extra flavor from the Celestial Lions Force. Insofar as their ranking structure, they don't do the standard captain, sergeant, and so forth. Captains are war leaders, sergeants are pride leaders, chaplains are death speakers, librarians are spirit walkers, apothecaries are life binders. So they have a potential slightly more tribal feel with some of those positions and how they may actually do things and do ritualistic things and the soul, the chapter, and so forth. At the end of the day, you could just say it's a terminology difference. Obviously, if you wanted to feel a death speaker, you'd feel a chaplain. But when it comes to maybe doing up their models and converting something up, kit bashing something up, or what have you, some headcanon stuff, you can feel a bit more tribal alongside the Teutonic Knight aspect of the Imperial Fists themselves. So, interesting bit of flavor there. Anyways, with that said, the fluff is pretty cool because they are a chapter of exemplary record, and they actually publicly denounced inquisitorial actions during the Qatar insurrection, actually demanding some type of investigation into their actions from key members of the Imperium at large. Something the Inquisition does not like. Didn't expect it, I guess. The Inquisition automatically assumes the authority that they have will just let them basically act how they gotta act, and they do things with a wider scope and a deeper view than most. But Astartes are no fools either. They do the same exact thing. So to be called out like that probably didn't do well for the paranoid pride of the Inquisition at large, and they were going to make an example of the Celestial Lions. And we saw it happen during the Third War of Armageddon. And this is why I find their fluff pretty cool, because they're not traitors. They weren't trying to find a traitor amongst the Inquisition myths or anything like that. They just said, yo, this isn't cool. This isn't right. You guys messed up. We demand this happening, and some stuff kind of happened a little bit. The Inquisition didn't like that, wanted to make an example of the autonomy of the Astartes, and an example of the Celestial Lions for speaking out against them in a very covert, kind of cowardly manner. They couldn't straight up excommunicate them or anything. They had no ground to do so. That would just look really weird given the situation at hand, and just spark more controversy and problems for them. So they tried to do it in a more subtle manner. And that was on the Third War of Armageddon, where they responded in full chapter strength and were whittled down to less than a company strong by the time they left the Third War of Armageddon, thanks to the Black Templars' intervention, which is relatively new fluff, only around 4 years old or so. So what happened was, intel given them was always spotty at best, typically wrong. So they would have to recon themselves. Even then, they would have to try and face something without much time to prep and plan, because anything they were told was most likely wrong to begin with. They've quickly figured that out. Every time they'd fight, they would do so unsupported. They would be told of a certain battle plan from, again, high command for the Third War of Armageddon to do something, obviously manipulated by the Inquisition, and then those that would support them, Astral Tom forces or what have you, would never get the orders to go ahead and do so they had no idea. So the Celestial Lions would go out unsupported to achieve victory, and they'd do everything they could to achieve victory, but take extra casualties because of it. They would have their patrols always being ambushed, which also whittles down your strength slowly. On top of that, they have noticed that their chain of command was being specifically targeted by really super accurate sniper fire, that very un-Orky-like, and they determined from the wound patterning that it was long-last sniper rifles from the Imperium that did it, and they quickly put two and two together and saw what the Inquisition was doing to them. So they felt and they knew they were doomed to die off at Mannerheim Gap on Armageddon. So they sent a message to the Black Templars, basically telling them what was up and everything. Record our deeds type of deal. And Grimaldus, who we know as a special character chaplain, decided, forget that, we're going to support and help rescue the Celestial Lions' remaining forces. They are not going to die this day for no reason, for vainglory, for something that should never have happened. And ultimately, that's what happens. They rescue the Celestial Lions, and at the time of rescue, they are less than a company strong, but they have survived, and they have been made to take binding oaths of rebuilding, so they won't just go off and kill themselves in a last stand battle. So much like the Crimson Fist, another Imperial Fist successor, mind you, no real relation for this fluff, but much like them, they are rebuilding from a near doomed state, and they're doing so with support from the Black Templars, another Imperial Fist Gene Seed force. So that's pretty cool. And what I like about it is it makes them survive, and it stops the attempt of the Inquisition to make an example of the Celestial Lions. Yeah, there was a bit of an example made, but all it showed was the Celestial Lions fighting on with honor and distinction, no force questioning their capabilities or their valor, and the point they're trying to get across never manifests because they survive and they're rebuilding now. So that's pretty cool. Not only are they rebuilding, but the Black Templars sent a strike force back to the homeworld of the Celestial Lions to help protect them and help them in their rebuilding process. So that's also very neat. That's a very quick rundown of it, of course. So with that said, there's no question what codex would be useful for them. That is the regular Space Marine Codex. Given that they have survived, again, relatively recent fluff, the older fluff was they were whittled down to less than a company strong in Armageddon, and it looks like they were going to die here, and that's all we had. It was left open, but heavily implied the extinction of the chapter. With the Blood and Fire novella, which came out in 2014, we saw that they actually survived, so you can actually collect these guys. If you're like me and you would rather collect a force that you know still exists and isn't killed off during the timeline of 40k, now you can a bit more safely collect the Celestial Lions if you so desire. And with the very real concept and possibility that they also receive Primaris reinforcement. So the regular Space Marine Codex is going to be the codex to use. The chapter tactic, however, is going to be up to you. They clearly have librarians. They have the Spirit Walkers. They're librarians. But they do have Black Templar helping them and supporting them during their rebuild process, the early stages of it anyway. So stuff will probably rub off. So you could use Imperial Fist chapter tactic, especially if you want to use librarians. But if you're not going to use a librarian, you have access to either that chapter tactic, or you have a very real justification for why you might want to go with the Black Templars chapter tactic as well. So that's pretty neat if you think about it in that regard. So with that said, when it comes to collecting the models for Celestial Lions, any regular Space Marine bits, kits, and upgrade stuff that's not chapter specific will work just fine. Unfortunately, I don't really know of too much in the way of lion head bit type stuff. There's that one Astral Claw special character from Forge World that's a Terminator that has a lion's head shoulder pad, but he's not worth getting just for that. It's very pricey for a shoulder pad. You might be able to look at some Age of Sigmar stuff or some other third-party products that have lion-headed bits that work for Space Marines in terms of like shoulder pad stuff or backpack stuff. Having the helmets would be, I think, a bit too far, but shoulder pad or backpack type of stuff would work really well. Like stylized exhaust ports being lion's head stuff, definitely nice. If you can find it, I just don't know of anything like that really. But all the regular stuff works just fine. Really, when it comes to painting, I highly recommend Vallejo's Liquid Gold paint for them. It's an alcohol-based paint, so use isopropyl alcohol of 91% or higher in place of water. Just don't use water with that paint. It's a very good covering, thin paint to give you really nice gold very quickly, and it's going to make blocking in the main armor color of these guys go very quickly, which is always a good thing, and it's still going to look great. So that's why I definitely recommend it. When it comes to their weapons, do it in the blue or the black is kind of a personal preference, I would say, at this point. Standard representation of them shows it in black, but the Blood and Fire novella shows them with the shows the one Celestial line on the cover with a blue bolter, so up to you. When it comes to doing the squad markings, doing them white, obviously very easy. Just use the Space Marine squad markings we have. If you want to do it in gold, you just put the white squad marking down and carefully paint over it in gold, and you'll be just fine. When it comes to the chapter symbol, Jin Fritter's Noma's Workshop has your back. It's from Armorcast. You go to the Armorcast website, they have it there, or you could just do a search for Jin Fritter's Noma's Workshop. They have a lion head decal. It's offered in black, white, and gold. So we really care about the white and the gold. If you want to do gold symbols, maybe for your chapter command, then you can get a decal for that. I did gold symbols because that's back when all they had were gold symbols. So I got the lion's head decal from them. Like I say, it works great. It's virtually identical to the chapter symbol, so that's fantastic also. So yeah, they also offer it in white. So no matter which way you go, or both ways, you got this symbol for you very easily, and that's pretty sweet. So with that said, it's a very striking force, like I mentioned, really cool force. I like their fluff. I think it's cool. I'm always a fan of feline iconography, lion stuff, and all that jazz, so always cool to see. What are your thoughts on the Celestial Lions Space Marine chapter? Do you like the relatively recent fluff of 4 years now about them surviving, or would you have liked them to have that last stand? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Anyways, thanks very much for sticking through it. Leave any questions, comments, or requests, of course, in the comment section below. And until next time, take it easy.